I'm Richard Harris, and I'm back. I kind of been hitting and missing on the show, doing some shows and not doing others on, week to week. But I'm gonna start trying to come back and bring that heat week to week. Next week, just gonna give you a preview of the show. I'm supposed to have a friend of mine named Elgin Lofton, who I went to high school with, who did a long stint in federal prison, and he wanted to come and share his road to recovery and all that. I thought that'd be a very important show to have next week because, a lot of brothers coming out of the system really need to know, how to get better. Once you come out doing a long, long jail sentence, how do you recover from that? How do you move? How do you get back into the mainstream of society and not go back? Because they say that 65% of people who are released, I think it's like 78% end up going right back in. So yes, I'm gonna have my man on next week, Elgin Lofton, really good guy. Just got caught up in a situation, ended up doing 14 years, and man, I'm gonna tell you, he's one of the most nicest, uplifting people you'll ever meet. Usually people who are, go to jail, they come out bitter and come out angry and resentful and things like that. And he's everything the opposite of that. So I thought he'd be a good person to have on next week. So I want to talk about a little bit about black male masculinity, and is it under attack or not? And I'm gonna leave that up to your assertion and your opinion about if it is or isn't. But before I get into that, I want to cover a couple things. One is about this virus, this Delta virus. If you pay attention to it, you'll notice like in the southern states, they are really getting it bad. The Texas governor ended up getting COVID, and you're seeing in Texas and Arkansas, Georgia, Florida, all these states that did not take precautions because of they politicized the virus are now suffering for it. I don't know. They probably still won't get it. I was reading an article and the Texas governor blamed it on the Democrats of why he ended up getting COVID and why the virus is so bad. So I don't know. I'm just saying is, hey man, we got white people in court and at school board meetings just acting a complete fool. Talk about it, wearing a mask is against a violation of their rights and all this silly stuff. But yet they talk about, really getting like loud and getting hostile. But if that were black people or say BLM, then they'd be terrorists. But of course, when white people protest, like what happened on January 6th, there's people actually called them patriots. Can you believe that? The people, the January 6th insurrection was called patriots, but yet BLM is considered terrorists when the data shows that 99.2% of all BLM protests are peaceful and without incident. Well, hypocrisy in America. So anyway, this Delta virus is serious. I think next month they're supposed to come up with a booster. So if you guys have family members or loved ones that have a pre-existing condition or have a health risk, please make sure they get that. For the people who are not vaccinated, look, I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories going around about the vaccine that's going to change your DNA. The government is inserting a tracking device. I've heard it all. First of all, it's impossible to change your DNA. Any idiot knows that. If you don't know that, then just go pick up a book. You can't change your DNA. It's literally impossible to change your DNA. So, hey, I don't know if that's what you think, then that's what you think. So anyway, it's a personal thing about the virus. Kids have been getting vaccinated in schools for years and didn't know what was in those vaccines, and we were doing it. We had no clue. When you took your kid to get vaccinated when he was going into preschool or going to elementary school, you had no idea what was in those vaccines. The school board said he had to be vaccinated, and you went and got him vaccinated. So I don't know. I've seen and heard about people who were really, really sick that didn't get the vaccination, and I just wasn't trying to go there. So I got vaccinated. I did the Moderna in March, and I've been fine. I didn't really have any side effects. It's a personal decision. God bless you either way you go. Let's just stand together and get behind this. All right, next one topic is the governor's race. Touch on this one subject. I thought Republicans were physically conservative. At least that's what they preach. But I know that they're they're only physically conservative until it gets something that they want. So we got a recall Gavin Newsom. Okay. And I asked this one question to anybody is, what has Gavin Newsom done that's so egregious, or some type of policy violation, or some type of gross negligence, or the stuff that Cuomo did in New York? Where is that where this man deserves to be recalled? I've asked people, people want him recalled. I went on their feeds and, hey, give me a reason why. Don't put the political spin on it. You don't like his policies and all that. That's not a reason to recall a governor. But what has the man done? I'm not saying he's a good governor or a bad governor. That's up to that's up to your opinion and what you feel, how you move and shake, your political belief, whatever it may be. But my question is what has he done to deserve to be recalled? So I haven't found anything. So the answer in my summation is nothing. This is just a Republican ploy move to take control, to get governor, because California always votes in Democrats. Republicans never win. So they're just trying to get him recalled because they want to get a Republican in there. And it's funny. It's like Governor Newsom's term is up in 2022. His term ends in a year. So why do you need to recall him and spend $275 million of taxpayers' money for a man who's going to be out of office in a year? Again, if he had done something grossly negligent, broken the law, violated his oath of office, okay, fine. He needs to go. Look, I don't pander to either party, but there's no evidence of that. What this really comes down to is these rich white Republicans that just want him out of there for whatever reason. I think someone has to do with the mask, and he was too strict on the mask. But, he did a great job through the pandemic. He did a really good job, man. We're pulling out of it. Look at the southern states compared to California. Everybody's going to have problems with this Delta virus, but California is doing well compared to these southern states. And the economy in California is not, we're not in a bear market. Of course, gas is high as hell and inflation, but inflation is nationwide. So it's not just him. I wish you could do something about the damn gas prices. That'd be great. But I don't see any reason he needs to be recalled. Hey, if you know some, send me a message, jump on the feed, give me a reason why he deserves to be recalled. I'm just curious. I had to throw that out there. And I want to say this one thing too. Larry Elders. Okay. This clown here. He's straight Sambo. Larry Elders is an absolute Sambo. So he throws it. Of course, he's running. And I'm gonna tell you something. Larry Elders is nothing but a black white supremacist. So if you're gonna put him in, you might as well put one of these other black white Republicans in. At least we can. It's a white face and we get it. But you're gonna have a black face doing everything that white people want them to do if that clown gets in office. So hopefully they don't recall him. And then in 2022, we can evaluate him as a governor. And if he didn't do a good job, then vote him out. Hey, vote him out. We do have a lot of problems, California. Cost of living, taxes, gas prices. There are things that we can fix here, but it's not solely on the governor. You need state legislators to get involved in that too. So in the way California is set up, it's really hard to change anything. This is one of the worst ran states, not based on the governor, but just the way the laws are. So anyway, I just had to throw that in there. You guys, food for thought. Black male masculinity. Is it under attack? Again, as I said in the beginning, I'm gonna leave you to decide if it is or isn't. I think it is. As a black man, it definitely absolutely is. There is a certain fear that comes with being a black man who is unapologetically black. And what I mean by that is there are 50 million black people in America that are biologically black, but I guarantee you probably half of them, or maybe even less, are psychologically black. There's a difference. So I'm talking about not a person who's biologically black, but also psychologically black, which means he really understands his culture. He embraces it, and he doesn't try to do anything to fit in or change the pitch of his voice, or, walk around with, tight dockers on, holding his booty cheeks tight to make white people feel comfortable. But he is really comfortable in his skin. He understands his history, his whole vibe. It has nothing to do with him. He could be smart, be professional, and all those things, right? But he really has just a deep love and passion for who he is as a Black man, and he doesn't be tossed and forth like the waves in the ocean on a windy day on the ocean. When people don't like the way he moves, this is who he is, and he's like, I'm not going to change to fit in your circle. If you want me in your circle, then you got to accept me for the way I am. You know what I mean? So and there are those kind of Black men out there, but the question becomes is, how successful can they be in a white dominated society if you are unapologetically Black in who you are? Can you move and be successful in corporate America without whitewashing yourself? And I'm sure you guys know Black people who whitewash themselves. They're gonna try to talk white, try to be white, hang around white folks, just try to do everything they can to assimilate and fit in because they want to be friends and be at their table. And, it's monetary reason. Maybe they can, feed their family and everything like that. And I get that. But those are the people like the Larry Elder, who I just mentioned, and the Clarence Thomases, and, all those Jesse Lee Petersons, those type of guys who just completely just, I think they hate themselves. Jesse Lee Peterson created, he's a Black conservative. You guys don't know who he is. He actually created a White History Month. Now, that's not self-hatred. I don't know what the hell is. That is if you're a Black man and you're going to create a White History Month, there is something damn wrong with you. You really hate who you are. But those are the type of people that are allowed to move and operate in the white world and be able to move to different heights and be in the mainstream, because they're going to do everything. They're going to be white people's public. They're going to talk like them, walk like them, do what they want, say what they want, and they'll be fine. But when you don't do that, and you carry a Black masculine bravado, how safe are you? So let's go back and talk in history, talk about a little bit where it came from. As you guys know, if you guys read any books, especially or anywhere from in Africa, the continent of Africa, you'll know that there were Black queens, yes, women, who led nations valiantly, and they had men under them, right, that were okay about women leading. And there were also, you got Nefertiti, and you had like Makeda, and there's a bunch of them that were Black women that led nations. So I mean, there's really no evidence that I know of in Africa, coming out of the African continent, that men just dominated women or just had this really dominating command control of how women move and shake and operate and stuff like that. It could be there. I know there were a lot of men leaders that were very chauvinistic and controlling, come out of Africa and come out of every other country in the world. But there goes to say that there was women who were leaders. So male masculinity, and I'm talking about, male masculinity in a way where he could be looked at as maybe the head of, the family, head of a nation, and things like that, and be a leader. So, and there's more parts to it I'll get into later on. So, in slavery, Black men were enslaved, obviously, right? And they saw how European white men dominated white women, right? And they also saw how they were dominated. The question then becomes is, did we learn some of our domination and male masculinity from slavery? Seeing how white men were the dominating force in American life. They controlled everything, the business, the language, the culture, people. They controlled everything. Women had no rights, and the men were the dominating species, as you can call them. And we were subject, and Black men and women, of course, were subject to that. So is that where this Black, and then when we got out of that, And being a slave so long, you really wanted to be in control. You really want to feel that you were a man, because you were treated less than human. You were exploited, brutalized, and and beaten into submission, and made to and treated like less than cattle for 253 years. So when you got out of slavery, you want to be free. I want to be the man. I want to head my family. I want to control my destiny. And did that lead us into this, black male masculinity, which could be a domineering type, have a domineering type mindset for people. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, because I think, black men need to have a certain control factor to them, and a way to measure themselves. So, because it just takes that to make it, So, and I'm not going to say blame it all on slavery, because there's another part of this, is that even though that we may have saw white men dominate slaves, when black men were also raped by slave owners in front of their wives. So there's a humiliation part to it, and a part where it strips you of your manhood. So it's really, we're at an intersection here of intersectionality of domination, and you want to be learning how to be dominant from another culture, but also that culture just pretty much stripping you of every of manhood. I mean, that strips you of everything you believe a man is when somebody does that to you, right? Especially in front of your wife. I mean, that has to be the ultimate humiliating thing that you could ever go through. So it could have came from there. It could have not. But I do know that there's a certain mentality that black men have to deal with that other races don't. White men have a little bit more fluidity in who they are in their manhood, and black men, we are real rigid, right? We are taught to be rigid by our fathers, like don't show emotion, don't cry, be tough, man up. This is what a man does. This is what a man doesn't do. Don't play with dolls. You're gonna grow up to be a punk. Or don't walk that way, or hold your head, put your hands on your hip. You're gonna end up being a sissy and stuff like that. And then we grow up with this idealism of what a man is, and it's part of our masculinity. I'm talking about, now this here is probably what I think is the false part of male masculinity, which black male masculinity, which has nothing to do with how mean you are, or how good you can fight, or how tough you are. I don't think it has anything to do with masculinity. I think masculinity is much more deeper than that. But when you see, and so there's two parts of this. One of that is it really challenges us to show emotion. Black men tend to hold things in. That's why we're dying younger. And if you have a woman that's full of emotion, right? And then we're taught not to be emotional, not to show emotion. How do we move with her? How do we be vulnerable to our wives, our girlfriends? How do we show them a softer side of us? We don't want to do that. We want to stay hard. We want to stay structured, and we want to stay controlled. And that's kind of that's being passed down through generations. So that part has nothing to do with slavery. Okay. And then there's another part of it where when you move and shake in this world, the things that black men have to go through hardens you more and makes you feel that you have to, be tough and carry this, and don't show emotion, and just pretty much be a steel wall pretty much all the time. And that could be stressful. That's why black men suffer from depression and anxiety and things like that, because we're holding a lot of things in. So that I just want to kind of talk about where it come from, and whether it's good or bad. Male masculinity to you could be, if you're a feminist, it could be terrible. To me, I think it's a good thing. I think that you should be masculine. But I just want to kind of talk about where I think it came from and how we kind of got to this point of black male masculinity. It comes from going through all the things we've been through as black male, and being able to hold it in and deal with it and hold our emotions, and not break. You know what I mean? Which is totally unrealistic. So that's a part of the male masculinity that we've kind of picked up from our fathers, and maybe been passed down to generation to generation. And and so that could be what they call the toxic male masculinity, where you want to be domineering and controlling and things like that. But I want to talk about the part of male masculinity where it just means that I am an alpha black male, right? I'm not trying to dominate anybody or anything or be anybody's, control anybody. But me being an alpha black male pretty much means that I have a strong understanding of who I am. I think the people from the African diaspora are the most powerful, most beautiful people in the world. History has shown that. If you know, the first person on this earth were black folks. And the people who have done so much, especially in Africa and in this country, it has been black folks who pretty much built this nation. So me being unapologetically black gives me a kind of a black male masculinity that I'm not trying to change who I am to make you feel comfortable, because that's what has to happen. You have to change who you are to make white people feel comfortable. And if you don't do that, then your black male masculinity is under attack. They look at you in their imagination. And I think 𝐷𝐎𝐿 said the most dangerous place for black people to live is inside of a white person's imagination. So if you look at black male masculinity, how is it under attack? Well, we look at the here's one. We look at the gay male movement, okay, or just gay movement in general. You look at on TV, they will prop up a gay black man in a dress in a minute, but you rarely see alpha black males on TV front and center. But you got Billy Porter and other gay guys that wears dress and all that. Hollywood just loves him, right? Because he's non-threatening to them. So he's gay black man, so he's black, so they can, you can't explain racism, but he's gay, so he's embraced by the gay the gay sector. So you can't, so there's no fear there. They're not afraid of Billy Porter. You know what I mean? He's what he is, and they're okay with that. But when you have alpha black males, like for example, let's say like alpha black male, like this could be extreme. Let's say Louis Farrakhan. This could be extreme. Louis Farrakhan will never be accepted into mainstream. Why not? Why not? I mean, he considers all white people the devil. But here's the deal. Here's my pushback on that, because people could say, well, Louis Farrakhan, he's an alpha black male, but he considered white. He part of the nation, and they're considered a hate white group and all that stuff. Well, some of that could be true, but throughout history, people have worked with people they hated to be successful. If they can come together and get money and do a biz deal, they ain't gotta like each other. You had Muslims and Christians work together to build business. You had different people of different races that came together to work together because they want to build something together, or to move, or they needed each other. You see, so you allow a Clarence Thomas, who's going to be your puppet, or Larry Elders, or a Dr. Carson, right? These people who hate themselves, hate their skin, but you'll never allow a alpha black male to be in government at a high position, or to be way up in corporate America. If he's alpha black male, it's just that I don't know of any. You can find some, then hey, find some. But I haven't seen any black males. So you're under this pressure not to be an alpha black male, not to be too black and too masculine, because you worry about how you're gonna feed your family. If I get pulled over by a cop and I have this alpha black male bravado, he may shoot me. It happens all the time. You know what I mean? They looked at George Floyd as, an alpha black male, or first of all, they didn't look at him as he was human. But when they Freddie Gray and Orlando Castile and all these other, man who was shot down, black men, they saw this black man who was different to them. He wasn't one of those black men that's going to, you know, be their best friend or, you know, act like he loved them. They were who they were, and they found a necessary to kill him. So there's everything in this society attacks you as a black man for being masculine and black. Everything goes against that. Here's an example. I was watching this commercial, the AT&T commercial, and I don't know if you ever seen this commercial, but you have this this big black dude. He probably is a kind of heavy guy, you know, and he's on the AT&T commercial with the white girl. And if you ever see this commercial, you know what I'm talking about. He calls his mom. That's my mother. And I just I had to call mom to get her approval. I mean, he was soft as cotton. He was just so soft. It's like, golly, he couldn't have been, I mean, you don't have to be super, you know, gangster, but can you just be in the middle? Can you just be unapologetically black and you accept me for who I am? Do I have to wear tight pants and Dockers and walk around, you know, raising the pitch of my voice and talking with white slang? White people have slang too. So white slang, or so to make you feel comfortable? Can I not know my history? Can I not be proud of who I am as a black man and share that proudness with you? Actually reflect that proud blackness I have on you as a white person. You accept me, not in a disrespectful way or anything like that. But I'm just saying is, we get into conversations and I'm talking about, you know, things I experienced, the way the world treats people of color or black folks, or history, or you may say something, I may check you on it. You may say BLM is a terrorist organization, and I say no, the KKK is, and you don't get offended because I disagree with you. But if I say, yeah, you're right, the BLM, yeah, those terrorists, I could be your friend. But if I disagree with you on a black and white issue, can we still be friends? Can I still work for you? Will you still promote me? If I'm a supporter of Farrakhan, for example, I'm not, but I'm saying if I was, but I do my job, and you know I'm a supporter of Farrakhan, and I don't like Donald Trump, can I still work for you? Can I still be your friend? Will you invite me over for dinner if you're a white guy? I don't know. I mean, there's so much. I mean, you have everything. I mean, it's like I've been told by white people, by this one white girl, you're too black. What in the hell does that mean? They told me I was too black. I said, you mean like my skin color? Or what do you mean? No, just the way you talk. It was this white lady told me that. I didn't mean to offend you. And I looked at her and I said, it's funny that you're stupid enough to think that was an insult. You know, that was my reply to her. But it's like, if you're too black, I remember Michael Steele was talking about. Michael Steele was a black man who was put over the Republican National Committee when Barack Obama got elected. And he was this conservative black man. He was the biggest lover over, you know, the white Republican, did everything they wanted him to do. Anyway, they put him over RNC, and they ended up getting him out of there and embarrassing him, using him and spitting him out like they do a lot of these, you know, puppets. But he's a totally different person now because he got his Negro wake-up card. But they told him he was too black because I think he wanted to help black people, or he wanted to do something. Invite some black people into the RNC, I think it was. They told him he was too black. So this is what I mean. You're under attack. I'm too black. What in the hell does that mean? Do you ever tell a person that they're too Asian, too Mexican, too Italian, too European Jew? Are you too Arab? Do you ever hear that? No, it's that you're too black. If you're proud of who you are and you move, walk, and talk like you're a man, like you're a black man, it becomes threatening, and it's very scary for white people who don't understand. But it's so weird that if you really got to know the black person like that, or got to know, you'll probably find that you have more similarities than you have differences. But there's this perception of black male masculinity That frightens people. If you've been paying attention, there's all this conversation about CRT, critical race theory, and and you'll see Republicans, all these white people just scared as hell, mainly them Republicans, and there's some black people on there too that want to be Republican. You know how black Republicans are. You know, not all, but a lot of them are gonna, you know, they're gonna play that puppet role and be on that type of conversation. But they're all scared about this CRT being taught in K through 12, and they're coming with all these lies saying that critical race theory or element of that is being taught in K through 12, and it absolutely is not. And it's teaching kids to be racist. It absolutely is not. If you study critical race theory, or just go look it up, critical race theory is an advanced framework. Keyword advanced is being taught in law schools and the postgraduate about taking a look at the system of systemic racism. Taking a framework, look at the systemic racism and how it affects society and black people as a whole. It doesn't even focus on a person. Critical race theory looks at a system. But you see, they're getting all scared. You know why? Because what they're afraid of, and the reason why they don't teach history in schools, period, real history, because they're afraid of it promoting black male masculinity, or it promoting raising the self-esteem of black kids and lowering the self-esteem of white kids. Because here's the deal. If they really taught black history the way it should be taught, white kids would be side-eyed. They'd be like, wait a minute, damn, we're that dirty? I mean, we've done all this to people of color, black folks, and they still are here. They're still making it. They still did all these inventions. They still created all these invented all these products. They still built all these companies, built cities, made it through Jim Crow and everything else. And we still all these people. It will lower the self-esteem of white people. That's why they're so worried about. That's why they won't teach history in school, and that's why they're so worried about critical race theory, which critical race theory would never be taught in elementary school. If you've been paying attention, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because they're so worried about black kids having self-esteem. But they'll tell you about, you know, George Washington. They'll tell you about Abraham Lincoln loved Negroes, which he didn't, and Alexander Hamilton, and all these other people who owned slaves. Lincoln didn't, but a lot of them owned slaves. And the framers are great, and slavery was a bad thing, but Lincoln loved us so much he freed us, and all that old nonsense. Okay, and they're very watered down because they don't want to lower kids' self-esteem, and they don't want young black kids to be proud of who they are. So when you're talking about black male masculinity being under attack, being proud of who I am as a black man is under attack. If I am proud of who I am, because I've experienced this for myself. I'm not telling you something that I heard about, read about, or seen. I'm telling you something I've experienced. That you cannot be unapologetically black, or at least I should say you can't show it, you know, and be successful working with white people, working in corporate America. You can't. I mean, you can be unapologetically black, but you can't really show it too much. You can't really walk in it too much because you will scare them. They will get scared. I've been through it. So why is who I am scares you? So I think that I'm not aggressive. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not doing any of that. So if who I am, in my very presence, and me being a masculine black male, my masculinity threatens you, then the problem is you. It truly is the problem with you. But again, that doesn't help the masses. You know, yeah, we know it's them, but that still doesn't help us, you know, a cop pulling us over and seeing this masculine black male and being scared and wanting to kill him. Or you're being too black. Or I can't work in corporate America if I don't walk a certain way, look a certain way, wear my hair a certain way, talk a certain way, address you in a certain way. I can't make it in corporate America. You know, we want to focus more on the gay movement than what Black people are going through in general. They want to equate that to the Black struggle. Now, gay people have their struggle. I'm not really into that, but they have their struggle, and that's cool. But what I'm saying is that everything wants to draw the attention away from what Black people are dealing with. Whether it be the gay movement, whether it be helping Latinos, whether it be whatever they're gonna do, pass laws for. When it comes to really passing laws to support and to help and protect Black people, a law specifically for us, that we can't seem to get that passed for whatever reason. And so we stay in this space of limbo, and we stay in this space of we know that we're under attack. So Black male masculinity is under attack, in my opinion, based on my experience and based on what I've seen. And again, it's not a person that is just biologically Black, but a person that is psychologically Black are really under attack. And it's sad. But this is nothing new. What a lot of people don't know is that during slavery, there were 250 slave revolts. They were scared to death of those African slaves. So they believed back then that they were superhuman and animals and things like that. So they were afraid back then. And I think part of it is the reason why they're afraid is because if you treated the people so bad for 400 years, you need to be afraid of them. So what you want to do is make sure they don't start smelling themselves and being too proud of who they are. It will do everything you can to prevent it, so you can keep them in this subdued position so they don't rise up against you. That's why, I always say that integration was the worst thing that ever happened to Black folks, because we knew when we were slaves or we were in Jim Crow, all we had was each other. We couldn't go to white neighborhoods. You couldn't buy from white businesses. You couldn't go to white schools. You couldn't do it. You couldn't live in white neighborhoods. All we had were each other. And we built Rosewood. We built Tulsa. We built Sweet Albany. Between 1950 and 1950, we're still slaves. Maybe not 1877. So we'll go at the end of Reconstruction, right? There were one Black dollar for every 32 white dollars. By 1910, there was 16 Black dollars for every 32 white dollars. You know why? Because we had to work together. We built newspapers and businesses, and hotels and bus companies and cab companies, and had our own city, because we were stuck in this concentrated area and we had to work together. And our net worth, or our average income among started to grow. We cut the wealth gap between whites and Blacks in half. Now, you mean tell me we're better off now? We are better off in 1910 than we are in 1921? Absolutely not. Were Black people back then smarter than Black people are now? No. Did they work harder? No. But here's what they were. They were more organized, number one, because they had to, because they were forced to work together. And they were more organized, and they had to work together. Those are the two. They had to. They didn't have any other choice. And they pulled their resources together and they built. Ever since 1970, since we really started to get, integration happened with 1964 when they entered Jim Crow. But say 1970, we're fully immersed in the white culture. Ever since then, Black people have been going backwards. And the only difference between 1921 and 2021 is integration. You got a Black man that can move in white America. He's going to lay down his Black masculinity so he can move up the white American chain, in corporate America. And then he's making, $300,000 a year, and he has a house payment, car payment, and $1 a son in college. He ain't gonna mess that up. He'll lay down every masculine thing that he has to sit at a white table. Because if you notice that Black people that have white friends, they are really whitewashed. You cannot be unapologetically Black and be at the table with white people. They will look at you crazy. You have to really change and act like they want you to act if you want to stay in their friend. Now, they're not going to say that. You need to act this way, obviously. But if you don't act that way, and you know how it is, you got to play the game. If you don't, you're not going to be you're not going to have those opportunities anymore. They're not going to get those opportunities. I've seen it, and I've actually done it. So I know. And it gets tiring, living up this charade. You can't be unapologetically who you are. You can't be black, male, and masculine and not offend anybody or people not be afraid. I don't know. Of course we have to have balance. Nobody's saying, and let me be clear. Black male masculine doesn't mean you walk around with your chest out and talking, with slang, and you can't put a sentence together, and you don't know how to communicate and things like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about no street guy. I'm talking about just a black professional who went to school, got his degree, whatever he's doing, and he's still unapologetically black who he is, unapologetically black. You look at him, he's a masculine black male. All right. Again, that doesn't mean making anybody afraid of you. Those people, they have challenges making it. I know there's one black billionaire who he was saying that as he moved up in making money and everything and building his company, he had to stay in the background, and he had white people in the foreground. He didn't come out as people were doing business with his company. I can't remember the guy's name. He just paid for a lot of black kids to go to college, and he didn't come out for like about 10 or 15 years after the company got really big. Then he came out as a CEO, but working his way up, you wouldn't even know he's the owner of the company. Why do you have to do that? Because he's unapologetically black? Why does he have to do that? But that question is rhetorical. You know why. But anyway, I just kind of want to, share that and just get you guys' opinion on it, on black male masculinity, and why it's under attack. It is now, and as far as I'm concerned, it always will be, because there's always going to be that fear, and there's always going to be that perception of who we are, as African people. And I don't know if that's going to change. Only time will tell. But I say this, and that's what the Kingdomhood is about. The Kingdomhood is about building your own. Go back to 1920 and build your own. Then you can be unapologetically who you are. We're in a city where all the cops look like us and grew up around us. Imagine that. Imagine a city where the politicians actually work for you, the community, because we finance their campaign. How about the banks are black owned? The businesses are black owned. And when our kids get up every morning and they go to the store and buy something, they're buying something from somebody the same color as them. Imagine their self-esteem. Imagine what they grew up seeing in a Rosewood, in a Kingdomhood. Imagine what they see. Imagine having your own hospital, healthy food options. In black neighborhoods, you got liquor stores and fast food. That's what you got. They want to keep you drunk and give you cirrhosis of the liver, and then give you high blood pressure. There are no healthy options in black communities. None. So the only solution I think it is to build your own community. Go back and build another Rosewood. And that's pretty much what I'm on. Not saying that white people can't live there. Of course they can. But imagine this. A white guy goes to NBA, gets an NBA contract, and says, dang, man, I want to move to a white neighborhood. I want to move to a black neighborhood. What we do, we sign an NBA contract and we move to a white neighborhood, because if we do that, we feel we've arrived. And then when you move in that neighborhood, you're going to act a certain way. So we can do that. I mean, hey, we can have our own communities, our own neighborhoods. But anyway, I kind of went off on a tangent on that. But look, black male masculinity under attack. I think that we should have the same fluidity as white males and how they move. We should be able to do that. Why are they so afraid? We know why. But I wish they get it together and stop doing that, because I should be unapologetically who I am and you should accept me and want to learn from me and embrace my culture and embrace my Black male masculinity. For it really, really set me for really, really who I am. Whether you're white or Asian or Latino or Arab or Irish or any other race, you know, we should be able to, I accept your culture and your Italian male masculinity or Asian male masculinity, or whatever it may be. I accept that too. I think that's when America is truly going to be great. Anyway, that's all I want to talk about today, man. And let's keep working, keep loving each other. Let's get through this virus. Thank you for tuning in to Kingdomhood Conversation, and see you guys next week. All right, be safe out there, guys. Bye.